Hello and welcome to They.Were.Heroes, a D&D 5e Western campaign. How are you guys doing? Well, specifically, how are you doing? Today we are going over the first session, technically session 0, of Ross's character. Which, would you like to go over who your character is? Small description?
Yeah, sure. His name is Oscar Lyons, um, but people call him Luck. Um, he was a marshal in a small town um, for the sort of earlier parts, I guess, of his adult life. Um, but he was stricken with some illness, with a undetermined amount of time left to live. So he has decided to see what this world has to offer, be it wealth, adventure, or otherwise.
So, a man on a clock.
Yeah.
When it will strike its end, only one person knows that.
Yep.
So, this session, we're going over basically the things that, as an audience, you won't be getting so much immediately in session. This will probably be like Oscar's coming up story, basically. Going over the little minute details of his character generation. Basically allowing everyone to sit on and see how that elevates and grows. And hopefully doesn't go to waste and dies in session 1. So, everybody knows
Hope
how...
not.
Yeah, everyone knows how deadly level 1 is in 5e, so we shall see. So, Oscar Luck Lyons. Lyons?
Lions. Like
Lyons.
lions, yeah.
Oh, I like that. So, Oscar, how did you get the name Luck?
Well, turns out something I'm good at is card games.
Is this one of his addictions?
It is. It's something that he has discovered on his sort of beginning of his adventure, I guess the beginning of his time away from um, his town and his job as a marshal, he has sort of discovered that taking taking money from people when they offer it is pretty easy.
So this started up more frequent after you left the town that you marshaled.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking about the town you left, how about we go into more detail? What led you to someone that's sworn to be a marshal, to protect the people, to leave his town?
I mean, with a time set on the clock ticking away and no real ties to the town apart from the badge. Um, just desire more than anything. I didn't want to die here.
So, speaking about the town that you left, where was it that was Oscar's hometown? Or is Oscar's hometown?
Way out east, Fort Tortuga.
So, you lived in Fort Tortuga.
Indeed.
Tell us a little bit about Fort Tortuga. What was the lifestyle there?
I mean, it wasn't a real big town, but it wasn't real small either. So everything came along with it. There was petty disputes, there was theft, there was, of course, murder, drugs, alcohol, um, which sometimes Oscar was drawn in, especially the alcohol. Um, for the most part, I guess you could say it was the same as uh, sort of any other sort of quiet town. Nothing crazy ever happened there. It was all sort of average small town crimes, I guess.
So he lived his adult life here, or all his life?
All his life, born and raised.
And what about Oscar's parents?
They were cattle farmers, but they passed away.
How so?
Uh, his mother passed away just from old age, but his father was shot and killed in the street.
By someone particular, or was it an unknown person to you?
Unknown person, but I believe there was some dispute over payment for milk, I guess, milk or meat. So a product from the farm. Wasn't too sure. Oscar was pretty young at the time.
So Oscar was an orphan for most of his life.
Yeah.
Any allies, friends, people that he meshed with growing up in his town of Tortuga or Tortuga?
I mean, he was being without sort of parents. He was seen as different. He kept to himself most of the time. He spent most of his time hanging around the marshal's office. In fact,
So he always was drawn towards the badge.
he was, yeah. He thought that if he was marshal at the time, his father might not have been killed. He could have broken up the dispute or dissolved it somehow.
So survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
How long was it until you actually got your badge?
Hmm. I believe he was 22 years old.
And did you marshal a different town? Did you leave Fort Tortuga? Or was this at Fort Tortuga?
This was at Fort Tortuga. He had never been anywhere else at that point and still felt very, I guess, tied to the place. Even though with nothing really keeping him there. Um, he felt a sense of belonging, I guess, for a period of time.
Was there a friend involved? A woman?
No, Oscar is a strange one. He prefers to be alone. He doesn't want to get close to a woman for fear that she could die.
If there were something to keep him up, what would keep him up at night?
Well, right, right now, thought of death, I guess, is keeping him up at night. He he wants to. He doesn't want to feel unfulfilled. He wants to experience, yeah, everything the land has to offer. Experience new things, and that the thought of just falling down dead, in the sand, haunts him. He doesn't want to waste what he has left.
If at any, when was the first time he drew blood?
Ooh. Not long after he got his badge, he took over as marshal. There was a robbery at a casino. It was a elderly man being robbed, and for whatever reason, with his morals, he shot the assailant dead. I guess he perhaps seen visions of his father and the old man.
And after this, was it a commonplace of being the no questions lawman? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
so how many lives does his, what is it, coach gun?
Double-barreled rifle.
So yeah, how many lives is notched on the hilt of this double barrel rifle?
I guess thankfully for now, it's at 7. Like I said, Tortuga is really quiet.
Alright, so we have Oscar Lyons was stricken with the illness that was told to him to be terminal. Gained the name Luck after being addicted to gambling. That only got worse after he left his hometown of Tortuga, which he left on the idea that he didn't want to die unfulfilled. The town of Tortuga is a petty, small, little existence of a town that is filled with the ups and downs of normal small town life. Nothing exciting or interesting normally happens here. But in this quiet town, even it can have its downs, which unfortunately was in the form of Oscar's father being gunned down in the street over some type of dispute over money, which not long before his mother died from old age. And to keep himself going, Oscar found it necessary to close himself off and only think towards his goal, the badge. After 7 years have passed, or possibly 12, Oscar found himself as the Marshal of Tortuga. Though it wasn't a bloodless marshalling, as he had to take down, unfortunately, 7 people. The first of which was a robber who incited violence on an elderly individual in front of a casino there. But that's his past. How old is Oscar currently?
He is 32 years old.
So he's been on the road for quite a while since he left Tortuga.
He has.
Anything changed in his ideals of life since then?
He's acting pretty reckless, trusting anyone who can promise something exciting will happen. Drinking, smoking, drugs, more gambling. He spends he he spends all his winnings the next day. It's a sort of repeating cycle.
And what about his luck with women or men?
Still he hasn't chosen to settle down. He probably picks up women with the money that he wins, but he's gone. The next day, he doesn't want to get attached to anyone really. He knows he's going to be gone soon.
Does he make effort to make sure that his seed doesn't pass on with these women? Or is this something he doesn't care?
Oh no, he doesn't. He cares not for that.
Alright, so what we're going to do before jumping into a small role-playing session is every character in my game, I gave them a list of questions to go over to basically figure out who they are as a character. First of which was, where are you from? Which we have that answer. It's Tortuga. What is your family like? Actually, what was your family like? We knew what they did, but how did they treat you? How was family living on the cattle farm?
I mean, it was hard work, but it was good. He was loved. He didn't really go without anything. The cattle business was pretty good.
So you had a good upbringing.
Yeah.
Alright. So, next question. Your social class, we know that you're a marshal, but how do people view you? Well, you were a marshal, but how did people view you as said marshal?
How did people view me?
Yes.
Maybe a little bit of shoot first, ask questions later, but I guess he was seen to be his heart was in the right place. Maybe his head, not completely.
And this was even seen through the people that you helped or marshaled?
Yeah.
So would you say his reputation was negative?
For the most part, probably. But his skill and prowess would still be thought of in a positive light, I guess, despite his actions.
So, how did the people treat you once everything that you were and built up to be started to diminish with this terminal illness? When things became harder, the shots that you're able to make without batting an eye, you start missing by a couple of yards. The amount of time it took to chase after a thief becomes more difficult and strained. How did people treat you then?
They were. They felt sorry for me. I mean, it was common knowledge what was wrong. But Oscar is bitter about it. He doesn't want sympathy.
And if anybody wonders why I may take long to reply, I'm taking down notes to take into effect and use against him later. Plenty and plenty of notes.
That guy you killed outside the casino, he didn't die. Oh no!
Oh, we shall see what this turns out. Have you ever been shot?
Yes, of course. Just minor grazes and small flesh wounds, though. Nothing that caused any serious damage or sort of digit loss.
So you've never been actually hit directly on?
No, no. He was far too good in his prime.
So the Oscar that we are going to be seeing in They Were Heroes is definitely not the same Oscar of his day.
No, there are glimmers of that skill and tenacity, but doesn't particularly care for it. He certainly likes to show off, so if anyone would doubt his dexterity with guns or the like, he would most certainly endeavor to make it look as fantastic and skillful as possible.
So here's the fun part. The legends. What kind of legends were built around Oscar?
What sort of legends were built around him?
We're going to be coming up with 4. Not necessarily that Oscar has given out, but 4 legends created by people that may have heard of him.
Okay, I would say his decisive, swift action against people who he perceives to be wrongdoers.
What was the legend that was created from something like that? Examples would be like he had such a terrible eye that he could stand down a buffalo horde and be able to make them stop by simply giving them the eye. Like those kind of legends. What kind of legends were created over Oscar in his prime?
I'm gonna go with his speed at drawing his weapon. You could have your gun in your hand, and Oscar would still draw and shoot you first. Back in the day.
Another legend is the estimated amount of how many people that everyone else thinks you have killed. Like, what is that amount?
Oh, it would probably be blown way out of proportion.
Yeah, let's give an estimated number how many people.
Let's go for 50. Let's say he's killed. He's put down 50 men.
All right. What other legends are there? We need 2 more.
Ooh, he is particularly good at cards, so Uh, Perhaps he has and always has an ace up his sleeve, literally.
All right. And last one.
Uh, Perhaps something to do with his lifestyle. If you feed him enough whiskey, he'll be your friend and tell you anything.
All right. So, the legends say that Oscar the Luck Marshal can speed his gun so fast that he can shoot a man dead that was already holding theirs. Well, I heard that he's killed about 50 men, he did. Well, that's nothing. That man, Luck, shoot, had nothing to do with Luck. He always has an ace up his sleeve. What I heard is that he's a whiskey whore. And those would be the known legends
Oh, so awesome.
of Oscar and the Common
Yeah.
Eye.
Love it.
So, back to what we were originally going over. The questions for your character. You have your social class. What did you do before you became an adventurer? You were a marshal.
Marshal. Yep.
Why did you become an adventurer? You wanted to see the sights before you died.
Yeah.
How religious are you?
I'd say not not particularly religious. He figured he would have been smited down already with what he'd done in his life.
Alright, so he's not a one to follow any type
Well,
of...
Not not particularly. He is a believer, but he doesn't believe any god to be more sort of powerful than the sort of ideals and morals of any man.
Alright. Who are your best friends and who are your worst enemies?
His best friends are people with money that he can take, or I guess his best friends could be anyone that promises adventure or a good time. And his worst enemies are anyone who picks on the helpless.
Alright. Then next. What are your prized possessions?
His prized possession is his hat, which was his father's.
Oh.
He still holds on to the Marshal badge. He himself doesn't even know why he still has it, but he can't seem to let go of it.
And who are you loyal to?
He just tries to be loyal to himself and the law, within certain reasons, I guess.
And finally, go ahead.
He's still a good man at heart.
All right. And finally, who do you love / who do you hate?
I feel my answer is going to be really similar to best friends and worst enemies.
Let's try to make this more narrow instead of broad. A specific person. Who has gained Oscar's ire or affection over the years?
He loves his horse. Like, his horse is, I guess, one of the only things in his life that hasn't given up on him yet, and will go wherever he goes.
And who is it that's gained your ire?
There was another marshal at another town that he passed through, not far from Tortuga, in Fort Rexus, who pretty much ripped his marshal badge from him in the street and humiliated him. His name was Marshal Colby, Colby.
Say that name again?
Marshal Colby. Colby. His name is Marshall, but he's also a marshal. The surname? Colby. And a double L on the marshal.
Like, what was the lead up to that? What did you do for him to rip your badge out and humiliate you in the middle of the fort?
I was very, 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 very drunk and making a massive fool out of myself. I had just won a small pot, gambling, and I effectively paraded in the street, shot my gun in the air a couple of times, and no sooner had I done that, the marshal was face to face with me. He knew who I was because I was in his fort in his town, and they had heard of me from Tortuga.
Oh boy. So, that is definitely something. Alright. Do you have anywhere in this world a bounty on you that you know of?
No. Not that I know of.
And anything else that you can think of that you would like to add in Oscar's repertoire of information?
His attitude to the law now is in his own hands, I guess. Not the law of the land. He's sort of aligning the law to his morals. Um, that could be bad, that could be good, but he himself sees he sees himself as a good man still.
Even when told differently.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have all that added in now. And yes, I think we now have an ironed out idea of who this Ex Marshal is and what it is that he's done with his life, or lack thereof one. Before we do our basically session 0 one-off, I want to go through everybody's our characters, and basically after getting all the character sheets figured out and backstories of everyone, give a chance to see if anyone wants to be connected through the story, and if that's the case, then we're going to have a multi-session of people basically probably having their first meets back in the past and things like that. So for now, this is where we're going to end it off for today. We got a lot of information about good old Oscar. And anything closing that you want to put on Mr. Oscar Luck Lyons?
He is... he's ready.
He's ready. That's a good ending. So, thank you guys for watching. Remember, you can follow me at Nightxgamer at YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, and Patreon to be involved in everything that's done here. You can contact or tweet, message me on Facebook and Twitter, and I do a good job of answering people back whenever I get the chance. And on YouTube, Twitch, you can catch all our prior games that we have going throughout the week, so you can keep updated. Each game that we do on Twitch always finds its way back over to YouTube eventually. They come out a part every day, so depending on when you're watching, you'll find something that you'll love. This will probably be going up earlier than everything else, just to help hype the idea of They.Were.Heroes for the first campaign that may be happening soon. No hard date on that yet, but look forward to it in the future. The next character that we're going to do, I will announce on Twitter, so you can be ready for that. But thank you, Ross, and thank you for bringing Oscar Luck Lyons to the table, the Ex Marshal. And I look forward to killing him.
Thank you. It's awesome.
So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.